January 27, 1945. 28,000 feet above the vast, churning expanse of the Pacific Ocean, en route to the heart of enemy territory, Tokyo. The air is thin and biting cold, slicing through the aluminum skin of the B-29 Superfortress like a razor, even as the pressurized cabin hums with the steady drone of four massive Wright R-3350 duplex Cyclone engines. You're there in the cockpit, feeling the subtle vibrations under your feet, the faint scent of aviation fuel and heated metal mingling with the sweat of anticipation. Lieutenant Lloyd Avery, the aircraft commander from Long Beach, California, grips the yoke with steady hands, his eyes scanning the endless blue horizon ahead. Beside him, co-pilot Lieutenant Leonard Fox from Downey, Pennsylvania, adjusts the throttles, keeping the colossal bomber, call sign a square 52, affectionately dubbed Irish Lassie, climbing smoothly through the scattered clouds. Down in the forward compartment, First Lieutenant John J. Faubion, the navigator from Austin, Texas, pores over his charts under the dim glow of a map light. His pencil scratches notes on wind drifts and headings, calculating the long arc from their base on Saipan to the Japanese mainland. Steady on course, skipper. He calls up through the intercom, his Texas drawl cutting through the static. ETA to coastline in about 40 mics. Beside him, Bombardier First Lieutenant Corral Gage from Wausau, Wisconsin, checks the Norden bombsight, ensuring the intricate gears and optics are calibrated for the precision drop ahead. The bomb bay below them cradles a deadly payload, high-explosive incendiaries meant to rain fire on Nakajima's aircraft factories in Musashino, a suburb of Tokyo. In the waist section, the gunners settle into their positions, their breath fogging slightly despite the cabin heaters struggling against the -40 Fahrenheit chill outside. Technical Sergeant James F. McHugh from New York City mans the Central Fire Control Station, his fingers hovering over the controls for the remote-operated turrets, 4.50 caliber Browning machine guns in the upper forward turret, ready to swivel at his command. To his left, Sergeant Clarence O. Leach from Martins Ferry, Ohio, peers out through the blister window, his eyes sharp for any glint of enemy wings. On the right, Sergeant Marvin E. Meyer from Boone, Iowa, does the same, while in the tail, Staff Sergeant Charles Mulligan from Henderson, Kentucky, hunkers down in his isolated perch, the twin .50s and 20mm cannon at his fingertips. Radio operator Sergeant Walter Klinksack from Plymouth, Pennsylvania, tunes the frequencies, listening for updates from the formation leader, and Staff Sergeant Louis E. Nellums from Pensacola, Florida, monitors the special radar instruments, his role crucial for the electronic countermeasures against Japanese radar. Flight Engineer Lieutenant Robert Watson from Pomeroy, Washington, moves methodically between the cockpit and the engine gauges, his trained eye watching oil pressures and cylinder head temperatures. All engines nominal, sir, he reports to Avery, though he knows the R-3350s have a nasty habit of overheating or catching fire, gremlins that have plagued the Superfortress fleet since their rush deployment. The crew, a tight-knit band forged through 7 prior missions, exchanges banter over the intercom to ease the tension. "Hey, Mulligan, you spot any mermaids down there in the drink?" Leach teases, drawing a chuckle from the tail gunner. "Only sharks, Leach, and they're hungrier than you after chow." As the formation of 76 B-29s from the 73rd Bomb Wing presses on, part of the 497th Bombardment Group, the sun glints off their silver fuselages, a majestic armada stretching miles across the sky. But beneath the beauty lies the grim reality of war. Intelligence briefs back on Saipan had warned of fierce opposition. Japanese home defense forces, desperate to stem the tide of American air power, have scrambled everything from outdated Zeros to the newer Ki-44 Shoki interceptors, codenamed Tojo by Allied pilots. These agile fighters, armed with 12.7mm machine guns and 20mm cannons, are built for high-altitude intercepts, and rumors swirl of pilots willing to ram their planes into the bombers in kamikaze-style sacrifices. The ocean below gives way to the faint outline of the Japanese coastline, Hamamatsu looming like a shadowed sentinel. Avery's voice crackles over the intercom. "Heads up, fellas. We're crossing into Indian country. Gunners, test fire your weapons." Bursts of tracer fire arc out from the turrets, the sharp reports echoing faintly in the thin air. McHugh cycles his sights, the General Electric analog computer whirring as it computes lead angles for hypothetical targets. The formation tightens, bombers weaving into a defensive box to maximize overlapping fields of fire. Suddenly, Mulligan's voice cuts in, urgent and clipped. Bogies at 6 o'clock low, climbing fast. Looks like a swarm. 20, maybe 30. The crew snaps to full alert. Oxygen masks tightened, gloves flexing on triggers. Fox glances at Avery, who nods grimly. Steady on. We've got the height advantage. Let M come. The first specks resolve into sleek silhouettes. Ki-44 Toyos. Their radial engines roaring as they claw upward, sunlight flashing off their green camouflage and red Hinomaru roundels. The lead Tojo banks hard, diving in from high noon, its guns chattering. McHugh swings the upper turret, the .50s barking in response, tracers lacing the sky. Got him smoking, he shouts as the fighter peels away, trailing black oil. But more are coming. A hornet's nest stirred. Leach spots another pair vectoring in from port. 2 at 9 o'clock high, closing fast. Meyer on the right blister adds. Same here, starboard side. They're coordinating. Avery pushes the throttles forward slightly, urging more speed from the wounded beasts under the wings. The bomber vibrates as bullets ping off the fuselage. Harmless for now, but a harbinger. Gage in the nose hunches over his sight, ignoring the chaos, focused on the target coordinates. Fabian recalculates wins, his voice calm. Bomb run in 5 minutes. Hold formation. The air fills with the acrid smell of cordite as the gunners unleash hell. Mulligan in the tail scores first, his 20mm cannon thumping, shredding a Tojo's wing. Splash one, he yells, the enemy plane spiraling down in flames toward the snow-dusted landscape below. McHugh follows suit, his controlled bursts catching another interceptor mid-dive, sending it exploding in a fireball. Make that 2, he grunts, sweat beading on his brow despite the cold. But the Japanese press on relentlessly, their pilots fanatical in defense of the homeland. One Tojo breaks through the curtain of fire, engines screaming as it hurtles straight for Irish Lassie. Watson spots it first. Incoming rammer. Left wing. The crew braces, time slowing as the fighter closes the gap. The impact is cataclysmic. Metal screams as the Ki-44 Tojo slams into the left wing of Irish Lassie just behind the outboard number 1 engine. You're thrown forward against your harness, the entire airframe shuddering like a living thing in agony. Sparks and debris erupt in a blinding flash, the propeller of the stricken engine chewing into the fighter's fuselage before both tear apart in a fireball. Flames lick outward, but the Superfortress's self-sealing fuel tanks hold, for now. Watson's voice roars over the intercom. Number 1 is gone. Feathered. Fire outboard left. The engine nacelle is mangled. Great chunks ripped away. Half the aileron and flap sheared clean off. Avery fights the yoke as the bomber yaws violently left, the asymmetric thrust from the remaining engines threatening to roll her over. Hold her steady, Fox yells, trimming furiously while Avery muscles the controls. Sweat pouring down his face inside the oxygen mask. The altimeter unwinds slightly, but they regain level flight. Down in the bomb bay, Gage never flinches from the Norden sight, his voice calm amid the chaos. Bombs away in 30 seconds. IP coming up. The formation presses on toward the primary target, the Nakajima Musashino engine plant outside Tokyo. But thick clouds blanket the area like a shroud. Lead bombardiers toggle early on radar cues and Gage follows suit. Tons of 500-pound general-purpose bombs tumble out, walking across the urban sprawl below in a pattern meant for factories but now scattering into the city. As the bomb bay doors grind shut, the fighters swarm thicker than before. Desperate now that the bombers are lightened and turning for home, the Toyos and other interceptors, Ki-45s, even a few Zeros climbing desperately, press home with fanatical fury. McHugh at Central Fire Control orchestrates the defense like a conductor, his computer whirring to track multiple threats. Upper turret on the 1 at 2 o'clock high, Leach, blister left, take the low 6, the .50s thunder in synchronized bursts, tracers arcing like deadly fireflies. Mulligan in the tail calls out kills relentlessly. Got him, wing off. Another exploding. Splash 3. Meyer and Leach add their own. The sky filling with burning wrecks plummeting earthward. But the Japanese pilots refuse to yield. One Tojo, trailing smoke from earlier hits, lines up deliberately from astern. Mulligan spots it too late. Rammer coming in tail. Fast. The fighter hurtles straight at the empennage, its pilot committed. The collision is devastating. The Tojo smashes into the left horizontal stabilizer, tearing away the entire left side of the tail section in a shower of aluminum and fabric. Irish Lassie pitches nose down violently, entering a screaming dive. Control surfaces shredded. The bomber spirals toward the ground far below, engines howling. Avery and Fox haul back on the yokes with all their strength, rudders kicking to counteract the torque. Full power on rights. Feather if we have to, Watson shouts, nursing the remaining engines as cylinder temps spike. Number 3 and number 4 on the right wing roar at maximum, while number 2 on the left strains alone. The dive shallows agonizingly slowly, G-forces pinning the crew to their seats. Mulligan, isolated in the shattered tail, clings to his guns, the wind howling through the gaping hole where his compartment once was sealed. Miraculously, the big bomber responds. Avery regains control at 20,000 feet, the formation long gone ahead. Intelligence back on Saipan will later mark her as a certain loss. 3 engines destroyed or inoperable, the right inboard now overheating badly from the strain, threatening to join its brothers in flames. Doctrine screams abort, ditch, bail out. But Avery's voice cuts through the intercom, steady as steel. We're not done yet, boys. Heading home, 1,500 miles on what's left. The crew, bruised and battered, rallies. Gunners reload belts, Watson cross-feeds fuel to balance the load. Isolated now, lagging behind the main force, Irish Lassie limps southeast, a lone silver giant against the vast Pacific sky. Yet the ordeal is far from over. Sensing vulnerability, straggling fighters peel off from the main battle to pursue the cripple. The Japanese fighters circle like wolves, spotting the lone straggler lagging miles behind the vanished formation. Irish Lassie, now a battered hulk with her left wing shredded and tail half gone, drops altitude slowly to nurse the remaining engines. Number 2 on the left straining alone against the roaring number 3 and 4 on the right. Avery holds her at 18,000 feet, trading height for precious airspeed. The vast Pacific stretching endlessly below like a blue graveyard waiting to claim them. Fuel leaks from ruptured lines in the left wing, but the self-sealing tanks hold just enough. Watson monitors the gauges obsessively, cross-feeding from the rights to keep balance, his voice steady over the intercom. We're burning hot on the rights, skipper, but they'll hold. Fuel's tight, 1,500 miles to go. The crew knows the odds. 3 engines out or useless, control sluggish, the big bomber wallows through the sky at barely 200 knots. Doctrine says ditch now, bail out while they still have height. Intelligence will log her as lost. Another superfortress claimed by the desperate defenders of the Empire. But no one suggests jumping. We've come this far, Avery says quietly. We're going home. The first pursuers catch up, an aggressive pack of 6 Toyos, peeling off from the main battle, hungry for the easy kill. They come in waves, bold passes from astern, beam, and head-on. Mulligan, battered in his exposed tail perch, wind screaming through the torn fuselage, swings his guns despite the chaos. Bandits 6 o'clock, 4 of M. His 20mm cannon thumps, tracers stitching the sky. One Tojo bursts into flame, cartwheeling down. Splash 4, he calls, voice raw. McHugh at Central Fire Control takes over the orchestration, his analog computer clicking as he directs the turrets. Upper on the high one, lower turret, take the low pass. The .50s roar in concert, a wall of lead. Leach and Meyer in the waste blisters pour fire into flankers, their windows fogged with condensation and cordite smoke. A Tojo presses too close from the left, guns winking. Bullets rake the fuselage, shattering glass in the waist. Leach grunts as shrapnel nicks him, but he holds the trigger down, walking tracers into the fighter's cockpit. The Tojo snaps roll, wing folding, plunging seaward. 5. The attacks come relentless, hour after hour as the sun dips westward. Klinksak, bandaged from earlier hits, monitors the radio for any friendly chatter. Nothing but static. Nellum scans for radar blips, warning of new threats. Fabian and Gage, their bomb run long complete, assist where they can, passing ammo belts or manning sighting stations. Another rammer dives in, this one a Key 45 Nick twin-engine fighter, desperate and low on fuel. It aims for the cockpit, but McHugh's forward turret catches it first. Bursts shred the nose, sending it spinning harmlessly past. But more follow. The gunners claim 7, 8, 9. Confirmed kills piling up as burning wrecks trail smoke into the ocean. Avery jinks the bomber as best he can, the damaged ailerons responding sluggishly, buying seconds for the gunners. By late afternoon, the attack's thin, the Japanese pilots low on fuel, forced to turn back or ditch themselves. Irish Lassie presses on alone, engines throbbing unevenly, the crew exhausted but defiant. 12 fighters shot down by guns. 2 more destroyed in the rammings that failed to finish her. 14 in total, a record that will echo through the wing. Night falls as they near the Marianas, stars pricking the black sky. Saipan's lights flicker on the horizon, a beacon of hope. But the ordeal isn't over. The landing will test everything left in the battered airframe. Darkness swallows the sky as Irish Lassie drones southward. The Pacific now an inky void broken only by the faint phosphorescence of waves far below. The crew is bone-weary, oxygen masks fogged with labored breath, hands numb from hours at controls and triggers. 14 Japanese fighters destroyed, 2 by deliberate ramming, 12 more shredded by the gunners' relentless fire. Yet the battered B-29 still flies. Avery keeps her at 8,000 feet now, low enough to ease the strain on the 2 remaining engines on the right wing, high enough to stay clear of the waves. Watson watches the gauges like a hawk. Cylinder head temperatures flirting with the red line, oil pressure dropping slowly but steadily. "We can nurse them another 4 hours if we're lucky," he reports. "Fuel's critical. Might have to ditch short of Saipan if the wind doesn't favor us." Fabian recalculates endlessly, factoring in the drag from the mangled tail and wing. "If we hold 180 knots true, we'll see Saipan's beacon in about 6 hours, he says. No one speaks the alternative aloud. The life rafts are ready, parachutes stowed nearby, but bailing out over black water at night is little better than suicide. They fly on in silence, broken only by the uneven throb of engines and the occasional crackle of static from Klinksak's radio. Hours crawl by. The moon rises, silvering the ragged edges of the left wing and the gaping hole in the tail where Mulligan sits exposed to the slipstream, wrapped in whatever blankets they could spare. He refuses to leave his post, twin .50s still loaded in case stragglers return. Leach and Meyer, bandaged from shrapnel wounds, take turns at the waist windows, eyes burning from fatigue but scanning the dark for any glint of pursuit. McHugh slumps at central fire control, the turret silent for the first time in hours. Dawn finally creeps over the horizon, painting the clouds rose and gold. The Marianas rise ahead, first Tinian, then Saipan. The battered runway of Isley field a thin gray ribbon on the green island. Avery calls the tower. Saipan approach. This is it. Square 52. Heavy damage. 3 engines out. Requesting emergency landing. The controller's voice betrays shock. They had written the bomber off hours ago. Roger, 52. You're cleared straight in runway 10. Crash trucks standing by. The crew stirs to life. Gear down, flaps, whatever remains functional, extended cautiously. The left wing drops alarmingly without its engines to balance thrust, and the shredded tail makes the bomber yaw like a drunken giant. Avery and Fox wrestle the yoke together, Watson throttling back the rights to reduce torque, then easing forward again to maintain speed. Airspeed 140, 130. Hold her off the stall, Fox mutters through clenched teeth. Irish Lassie sinks toward the coral strip, the runway rushing up. At the last moment Avery flares, the right wing engines roaring one final time. The main gear touches with a screech, the bomber slewing left as the damaged controls fight him. He corrects with rudder and brake, tires smoking, props windmilling as the last fuel burns away. She rolls crooked but true, finally grinding to a halt just short of the overrun. Silence falls, broken only by the tick of cooling metal and the distant wail of approaching ambulances. The crew sits stunned for a moment, then the cheers erupt, raw, exhausted, triumphant. They climb out through the nose hatch, legs shaking as they touch solid ground. Ground crewmen stare in disbelief at the wreckage. Left wing engines gone, tail half missing, fuselage pockmarked with hundreds of bullet holes. Yet the silver giant stands intact. Avery is the last out, pausing to pat the scarred fuselage. "Good girl," he whispers. Intelligence officers swarm, cameras flashing, counting holes and confirming kills from gun camera film. 14 enemy fighters destroyed by one crippled B-29. An unprecedented feat that will soon ripple through the 73rd Bomb Wing and beyond. Irish Lassie never flies again. The damage is too severe. But her crew, every man aboard, walks away. They earn distinguished flying crosses, Purple Hearts where wounds demand them, and a story that becomes legend in the Pacific Theater. The day a Superfortress refused to die. In the weeks that follow, the story of a Square 52 spreads like wildfire through the tent camps and Quonset huts of Saipan. Ground crews who saw the wreck towed off the runway recount the damage in hushed awe. Over 400 bullet holes patched with fabric and speed tape, the left wing a twisted ruin, the tail section virtually non-existent. Yet 11 men stepped out alive. No fatalities, no bailouts, no ditching in the unforgiving Pacific. Photos circulate. The crew posing in front of the scarred fuselage, faces gaunt but grinning, Avery in the center with his arm in a sling from the strain of the controls. War correspondents swarm the 497th Bombardment Group headquarters. The official tally is confirmed from gun camera footage and survivor accounts. 14 Japanese aircraft destroyed, 2 by deliberate ramming that failed to bring her down, 12 more shot out of the sky by the gunner's unyielding fire. It stands as the single highest number of enemy fighters credited to one B-29 in a single mission during the entire Pacific campaign. The Army Air Force's Public Relations Office dubs it the indestructible Superfortress, and the tale makes its way into Stars and Stripes. Then stateside newspapers hungry for heroes amid the grinding island-hopping war. Each man receives the Distinguished Flying Cross in a ceremony on the sun-baked parade ground at Isley Field, General Curtis LeMay himself pinning the medals while photographers' bulbs flash. Purple Hearts go to Leach, Meyer, and Mulligan for their wounds. But the real reward is quieter. Rotation home after their tour, a chance to see families again, to tell the story in their own words over beers in Long Beach bars or Texas porches. Irish Lassie herself is stripped for parts, her engines, radar, turrets salvaged to keep other bombers flying. The Hulk is pushed to the scrapyard at the edge of the airfield, a silent monument overtaken by jungle vines in the months to come. But her name lives on. New crews chalk Irish Lassie 2 on replacement aircraft, invoking the spirit of the one that refused to die. Back home, the mission becomes a symbol of American resilience in the air war over Japan. A reminder that even when doctrine said fall, courage and engineering could defy the odds. It bolsters morale as the fire raids intensify, as B-29s return night after night with their own tales of damage and survival. You stand there today, decades later, imagining the roar of those engines, the sting of cordite, the cold bite of high altitude. 11 men against the Empire's desperate fury, 1,500 miles of ocean to cross on shattered wings. They didn't just survive January 27, 1945, they wrote a chapter in the sky that still inspires. A superfortress that destroyed 14 fighters, even after 2 had already rammed it, and brought every soul home.